Okay, so I've entitled this "Things That Make You Go Hmm," and these are just two questions that I want you to think about, just as maybe alternative ideas to the type of sketching we've been doing. This question, this first one here, will be one I'll probably put on the test, but it just gets us to really understand where some of the things come from. So we'll try this, and then we'll look at one other one, and then I'll let you do some more practice of sketching. So the first question here, it says find constants a and b that guarantees the graph of f of x equals ax squared plus 7 over bx squared plus minus 9 will have vertical asymptotes at x equals plus or minus 3 over 5. That means there's two vertical asymptotes at positive 3 over 5 and negative 3 over 5, and has a horizontal asymptote at y equals 2. So what I'd like you to do is spend 5 minutes, maybe sit with your table partner there, and see if you can figure out ways that you can figure out these answers. So figure out what A and B could be, and then we'll come back and share. So if you push pause, then you should have time to share. Now, if anyone would like to actually come up and write this on the smartboard, the supply teacher could pause the video here and do that. That would be fine. It doesn't matter to me. Your explanation's kind of hard to actually handwrite this out using perfect math, but the concepts and the ideas are what are important. So if anyone would like to try it, they can try it now. Otherwise, I'll go on with the solution in a second. Okay, so here's my solution and the ways that I'm explaining where this comes from. I'm going to start with the vertical asymptotes. I know there's two of them. There's one at plus 3 over 5, and there's one at negative 3 over 5. So my question is, what roots or what factors produce these roots? So in all these other questions, we sort of have the factors, and then we solve for the roots. Here we have the roots, and we want to work backwards to solve for the factors. So some of you might look at this and be able to see that the answer is 5x minus 3 and 5x plus 3. How come? Well, remember, we can work backwards and say that that gets multiplied by 5 and get 5x equals 3, and then solve for have it equal to 0, so it's 5x minus 3 is 0. So that must have been one of the factors, 5x minus 3. And then the other one, same sort of math to get 5x up here, 5x equals negative 3, 5x plus 3 equals 0. So the other factor must have been 5x plus 3. Knowing that those are the two factors that produce the vertical asymptote, I'm now going to look at my equation and see that this might have come right from this factoring. Well, if I stop and think about it, you can see that I have difference of squares on the bottom. It's bx squared minus 9. So if you stop and think about it, what would b have to be in order to factor into these two factors? I can see that the 9 at the end got factored into a 3 and a 3, a minus 3 and a plus 3. So what would b have to be? Well, b would obviously have to be 25. You can see it also by doing this. Rainbow this out. 5x times 5x is, of course, 25x squared. 5x plus times plus 3 is plus 15x. And then the negative 3 times the 5x is minus 15x. And the last one is minus 9x. Of course, these disappear because there's a positive and a minus. And we're left with 25x squared minus 9, which then means that b must be 25. So I've solved half of the problem. Next, let's consider what the horizontal asymptote must be. We know that the horizontal asymptote is at y equals 2. So we know that n couldn't be less than m. It can't be that because those situations are when you get an asymptote at y equals 0. We can't have n greater than m because if n was greater than m, then you wouldn't have an asymptote whatsoever. So that means since there is an asymptote at 2, that means that n must equal m. Now I can see that right from the equation. N is 2 and m is 2. So it's exactly what I expected. Since they're equal, I'm going to look at what the leading coefficients are. So it's the leading coefficient of the top over the leading coefficient of the bottom. That's how I would figure it out. And I know that the answer has to be 2 because the horizontal asymptote is at 2. So whatever the leading coefficient on the top divided by the leading coefficient on the bottom is, it has to equal 2. The leading coefficient on the top is A. The leading coefficient on the bottom is B. But we just figured out that B was 25. And so that means that A must have been 50. And so therefore, I've been able to solve this and figure out that A is 50 and B is 25.